Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. They're lying. They lied. None of it was true. Now they're trying to take us into what? World War III? Let's talk about it. Or where they went, they caught 78 known terrorists within the beginning of this year alone. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Please, if you have not already, please go ahead and hit that share button. No matter how you're watching this, no matter how you are listening to this, please go ahead and share my video. It really helps out a difference. And my audio podcast, because this is my audio podcast as well. Okay, let's get right into it. John Kirby, this dude got caught in a flat out lie. And it's really interesting now. It's like all of a sudden, you have the media starting to ask questions other than what kind of ice cream do you like? How was your day today? Are you feeling okay today? They're actually asking questions that the American people want to know. It's like the media, the dinosaur media or the state media, right? It's not the state media asking the questions. It must be some of these other, media outlets that are trying to get to the truth, the way they used to be. But they're not doing that anymore, right? But now it's like they are. So did you hear about what took place in Ukraine? Ukraine had a dam that was blown up. It was blown up. And they're automatically saying that it was Russia that was doing it. But before I get to that, there's an episode apparently where Ukraine soldiers went into Russia and they asked the question, are you going to penalize Ukraine for invading into Russia? But of course they're not going to, because they want this war. They like this war. They want this war to continue. Let me share this with you. Look at John Kirby. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says, because they want this war to continue. They want this war to keep going on and nonstop. They don't want it to stop. They're wanting to take us into verge of World War III. And I'm going to prove to you tonight that this dude, along with the Biden regime, because he's representing the Biden regime when it comes to this, that they're all lying to us. Listen.
Moments ago, you reiterated the administration position that you do not support attacks inside of Russia. I'm wondering if the administration has communicated that there would be any potential consequences to Ukraine if attacks like that do continue. For instance, have you made military aid conditional on preventing some of those attacks? Or is Russia on the hook here because this is an illegal invasion?
Well, as I said earlier, if Russia's concerned about Ukrainian military capabilities, the best thing that they can do would be to leave Ukraine. We have made our concerns about strikes inside Russia very clear to Ukrainian officials. They've acknowledged that we have, and they have assured us that they won't use U.S.-made equipment to strike inside Russia. We don't want to see the war escalate, and there's no apologies for that. But I won't go into detail about the private discussions that we're having with Ukrainians.
So you can't tell us whether or not, other than expressing you don't want an escalation, you can't tell us if there's any conditional...
Oh, this is the repercussions. Look, I think just take a look at everything we've done in the last 15 months, and I guarantee you're going to see additional security assistance packages in coming days and weeks. We're going to continue to make sure that Ukraine can succeed on the battlefield, as President Biden has said, for as long as it takes.
So let's get this straight. He's suggesting that we are not giving Ukraine any U.S. military surplus, but then he turned around and said that we are. The only reason why the war is still going on in Ukraine is because the United States of America is funding it. We're supplying military equipment. We're supplying ammo. That's the only reason why it's still going. If they truly wanted to save lives in Ukraine, the U.S. would have never got involved in the first place. But that's not what they want. I've been saying this for months now. For months. There's two factions of this one world order. One faction of the one world order is NATO, which consists of the United States of America and some European countries and a few other countries. And then you have the other faction of the one world order, which consists of Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, and some other countries. They have their idea of the one world order. The thing that's happening here, the thing that's getting in place here is that they're trying to battle who's going to have the one world order, who's going to come out on top. This is what this is about. And most people never figure that out. And most people will never, ever hear it because they don't allow people to hear what I'm telling you. How many other people are saying that? This is about the domination, world domination of the one world order factions. It's more than just one. They're going to end up with a one world order at one point or another. And, you know, before they used to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. There's no such thing as a one world order. Now you have the entire left embracing that nonsense. They're embracing it. They're not labeling, you know, talking about that's a conspiracy because they're all about it. They're all for it. Because the one world agenda that they see is 100% demonic, and they don't have any issues with it being 100% demonic because that's exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want. Now, also, there was a dam that was blown up. There was a dam that was blown up in Ukraine. And apparently Russia has taken over this location where the dam is. And now they're saying that it's been reported that Russia blew it up. I want y'all to listen to this. Listen to this, because he's going to come out here and he's going to tell everyone about the dam, and he's going to say who blew it up, reported who blew it up. Listen.
Look, I know there's been a lot of interest in the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam in Ukraine, and I wanted to just take a minute to address it. As you might expect, we've been closely monitoring the impacts of that destruction, which has triggered massive flooding in Ukraine and resulted in the evacuation of, at the very least, thousands of Ukrainians. We know there are casualties, including likely many deaths, though these are early reports and we cannot quantify them right now.
Now, you see that, right? Can't quantify them right now, but I want y'all to listen to who he is blaming based on the reporting that blew it up. Listen.
We've seen the reports that Russia was responsible for the explosion at the dam, which I would remind, Russian forces took over illegally last year and have been occupying since then.
You hear this? See, he said Russia took it over illegally. And now they're saying that he's saying that Russia blew it up.
We're doing the best we can to assess those reports, and we are working with the Ukrainians to gather more information. But we cannot say conclusively what happened at this point. We will certainly share more information when we can. What is clear, and what we absolutely can say, is that the damage to the Ukrainian people and to the region will be significant.
You hear that? So now I want y'all to listen to this reporter. This reporter brings up the point about who blew it up. You remember, let me bring this up. You remember the pipeline? You remember the pipeline that they said Russia blew up? Do you remember that? They said they were going to do an extensive I can't even get it out, investigation on who blew it up. Do y'all remember that? And they said, we're going to find out. Don't worry. We're going to find out who blew it up. They don't even say anything about it any longer. But listen to the reporter in this next clip. Because the reporter in this next clip saying, why would Russia blow up this dam when it would be more hurtful to them blowing this dam up than it would be to Ukraine or anybody else? It's almost like saying that Russia blew up the pipeline when it wouldn't be to their benefit to blow it up. Watch this.
Does it seem believable to you that Russia would destroy a dam and flood ethnic Russian villages and cut off the water supply to Crimea? I mean, that doesn't seem logical. It seems about as logical as blowing up one's own pipeline, doesn't it?
We've come to no conclusions on this. We're working with the Ukrainians. We'll try to get as much information as we can.
You hear that? You hear that? I don't know how well you could hear what she was saying, but she said it, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's like saying that they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, knowing good and well they didn't blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. And I'm subject to believe that the reporter that asked that question is on the up and up about the United States of America, the Biden regime blowing it up, because they already said that if Putin invades, that they're going to blow it up. They already said it's already been on video, but you can't play the video any longer. I'm hoping I can still be able to talk about it here, but apparently you can't play the video any longer because they come after you trying to say that you're putting out misleading information. But it came out their mouths. They're the one that said it. They're the one that said it. And then if you share what they said, then you're the one in trouble because you're pointing it out. You're bringing it to realization of what exactly took place. Now, let me show you this one. Here's another one where a reporter's asking Kirby tough questions, and this dude squirms in his underwear. He's squirming left and right. They lied. They got caught in a lie. Here's another example of Kirby lying and somebody in the press finally asking the right questions, and he doesn't like it. So you're just supposed to play along. State media, you're just supposed to play along. But I'm thinking that this young man is not state media. Watch this.
To look at this and say the reason that the Russian army is on NATO, the Russian army is at NATO's doorstep is because NATO has expanded rather than the Russians expanding. That, in other words, NATO has moved closer to Russia rather than Russia moving closer to NATO. Is that not an accurate way to look at this?
I think that's the way President Putin probably looks at it. It's certainly not the way that we look at it.
I mean, so you hear this. He's trying to be funny. That's the way, President Putin would look at it. But of course, that's not the way we look at it. Let me give you an example here. Let me give you an example of what's taking place here. You have a home and your neighbors live next door to you. And let's just say you really don't, get along with your neighbors for the most part. It happens. Like you see your neighbors, you keep them at a distance. You stay in your yard, they stay in their yard. But what happens when your neighbor start cutting your grass and started planting flowers in your yard, right? Like they start coming into your yard like it's theirs. This is what NATO is doing. NATO is coming closer and closer to your yard, to their yard, and they're saying that you are the one that's getting close to your neighbors. And it's a poor analogy, but this is exactly what's happening. Instead of them saying, no, your neighbor is coming over into my yard and planting flowers, they're blaming you, saying that you're getting close to your neighbors. Everything is upside down, people. The world is truly upside down. Listen, because this reporter, he's actually going to call Kirby out on it because NATO is moving closer to Russia, but then they blame Russia for getting close to NATO. You can't make it up.
You don't think that NATO has expanded eastward toward Russia?
NATO has expanded,
okay.
and the expansion has been a good thing for...
So the reason that the Russian army is at NATO's doorstep is not the fault of the Russian army, it's not the Russian army that's done it. It's NATO has moved closer to move
I'm pretty
east.
sure it wasn't NATO who was ordering, upwards of 15 battalion tactical groups to within 10 kilometers of the border with Ukraine. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't NATO who put little green men inside Ukraine to destabilize eastern cities.
Listen, see, and this is John Kirby trying to deflect. Well, it's not NATO doing this. It's Putin doing this. Putin is invading Ukraine. Putin is doing that. Putin.
Russia.
Right? Putin. But he's still not acknowledging that, look, Russia didn't move. NATO got closer to Russia, and now they're turning around and saying, Russia, you're too close. What in the world? Again, and this dude Kirby, he's so either he doesn't understand the questioning or he just being willfully ignorant. Which one do you think it is? Leave me a comment.
Be sure that Ukraine is not a member of NATO. So unless that's changed,
it's not changed. But I'm pretty sure the movement by Russia is
if NATO is moved east. The reason that the Russian army is closer or on NATO's doorstep is because NATO moved.
NATO is not an anti-Russia alliance.
That's not the point. And apparently, actually, NATO is really looking like they're not defense. Really, they're advancing. So you have Putin that already told if Ukraine even looks like they're going to become part of NATO, that we're going to invade. And then what did they do? They started doing the actual work on bringing NATO, adding Ukraine part of NATO. Guess what happened? Putin invaded. He invaded because of that very thing. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. So now they said, and it's all because of NATO. So now you have NATO moving closer to Russia, like setting up for something. You know what this is? And I've said this before. They want Putin to set off a tactical nuke. They want Putin to do something with NATO troops or something. So they're putting NATO soldiers closer and closer so they can be in harm's way, so they can have a reason to take us into World War III. We're already in it, but they need a reason so they can blame Putin so they can get us here in the United States of America thinking that we will rally behind them invading Russia. I don't want to invade Russia. I don't even want to be in Ukraine. I don't want to send another daggum penny to Ukraine. Nothing. They already have billions of dollars. What happened to the money? Where'd the money go? They're already getting military surplus. Where'd it all go? They're using it. They're using the military surplus against Russia. It's not just for defense any longer. And he come out deflecting, trying to say it's just for defense. Why are they asking for F-16s? Why are they asking for F-16s? Just for defense? Really?
NATO is a security alliance.
Unfortunately, for 50 years, it was an anti-Soviet alliance. So do you not understand it? So do you not understand how, or can you not even see how the Russians will perceive it as a threat? And the fact that it keeps getting closer to their border while their troops, I mean, the places where their troops are, you say their troops are, and may have been in Ukraine and Georgia, are not NATO members.
I'm not going to pretend to know what goes in President Putin's mind or Russian military commanders. I mean, okay. I barely got a history degree at the University of South Florida. Right. What I can tell you is that NATO is a defensive alliance. It remains a defensive alliance.
Fair enough, but it has moved east, correct? I mean, that's just a fact.
It has expanded, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
But there's no reason for anybody to think the expansion is a hostile or threatening move. And we've been saying that throughout the last 15 years, man.
It's like you're moving closer to Russia. You're blaming the Russians for being close to NATO.
No.
That's exactly what Hagel said.
We're blaming the.
Did you see his reaction? The guy just straight up said it. You're moving closer to Russia, but then you're blaming Russia for getting closer. Someone please help me make it make sense. I mean, please make it sense. I got to play it one more time. Listen to him. Make it make sense.
I mean, that's just a fact.
It has expanded, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
But there's no reason for anybody to think the expansion is a hostile or threatening move. And we've been saying that throughout the last 15 years, man.
It's like you're moving closer to Russia. You're blaming the Russians for being close to NATO.
No.
That's exactly what Hagel said.
We're blaming the Russians for violating the territorial integrity of Ukraine and destabilizing the security situation inside Europe.
Which is not a NATO member.
I see
other countries feel threatened.
Yeah.
Wow. See, they're making every excuse for us to throw money into this war. Did you know when Xi Jinping went overseas, when he left from China and went over to the Ukraine area in Russia, that he was going to talk to Zelensky? And from what I remember, that they were going to report talking about how they want to get them to do a ceasefire. Remember that? Are you even aware of that? Most people are not even aware. But they were going to get them to do a ceasefire. The United States of America stepped in and said, no. We can't have a ceasefire. That means people will stop dying. We don't want people to stop dying in Ukraine. We need more of it. See, the party that's in control of that right now in the United States of America is the party of death. It's the same party that want the unborn to die. It's the same party that want Christians to die. And I'm going to prove that tonight. They're coming after Christians like no tomorrow. I'm going to prove it to you tonight. For those of you that are interested, you're going to have to join me on my Rumble because I can't show it to you here. Because they're coming. They're coming. If you want to see the truth, you're going to have to join me. But before we get to that, let me share something else with you, because, you know, as long as I've been doing these videos and long as I've been using my voice, and, you know, the left, they call it a black voice. And I just think it's Will Johnson's voice. Color has nothing to do with it. But they put these labels on there. You notice they got the black voice. Like if you go to YouTube and type in black voice, they got a whole thing going on for the black voice. Same thing on Facebook, black voice. I'm like, what is that? How come it just can't be his voice or her voice, right? How come it just can't be the voice of Will Johnson? Color has nothing to do with it. But a lot of black people are starting to wake up to what they've been bamboozled in. And the left, they don't like it. They don't like the fact that Will Johnson, who happens to be a black man, doesn't think the way they want me to think, or want them. I don't think the way they want me to think, right? I'm not going to do it. And I've said that multiple times. But listen to this young man here. And he kind of goes into it, but there's another segment to this that I'm going to have to get into on the other side, and you'll see why here in a minute. But listen to what he says, because black people, you know, it's like they like living in the past. They like living in the past. Listen to this.
This message is for low-income blacks. I spent all my life working on behalf of low-income people all over this nation, and I can tell you that everyone who looks like you is not looking out for you. A lot of you are being scammed, hoodwinked, bamboozled by a lot of middle-class blacks who work in this DEI industry, race grievance industry. Government employs them, corporations and universities, where they're making six-figure incomes by guilty white people. They believe that the way you can solve the problems confronting low-income blacks is to make white people less racist. Nothing could be far from the truth. A recent study by Harvard revealed that the leading cause of death of our young people is homicide, suicide, and drugs. There's where the crisis is. And making white people guilty has nothing to do with these solutions, but they are profiting off of being social warriors and protectors of all black people.
Let me stop it real quick. It's almost done. This is so true. This is so spot on. And how do you think BLM was able to get $90 million? It might as well be $90 billion. $90 million, almost $100 million, right? How do you think they were able to get it? Because they got white liberals to go, oh my goodness, these black people, they need our help. They need our help. Let's pour money into them. It'll fix the problem. Give them money. You know what? And now BLM is $10 million in the hole. So if you were to give black people reparations, it'd end up being the exact same thing. They get the money, poor management, they'll waste it, they'll buy it on junk, buy it on whatever, and they'll be right back in the same predicament that they're in, except for screaming for more money. Screaming more money, going to the government, give us, because they're addicted. It becomes an addiction, right? That's exactly what they want. But a lot of black people are not buying into it. I'm not buying it. Listen.
Off of being social warriors and protectors of all black people. Well, this scam needs to stop. What we should be doing is supporting groups like Voices of Black Mothers United, groups that are in the community trying to build relationships with police and trying to persuade people by turning pain into purpose.
Yeah, turn pain into purpose. And I just saw in the comments, one person said, I never heard about the black voices. Yeah, you know what? I didn't even know. You can put them on there, the split screen on it. I didn't even know, right? I didn't even know about the black voices until I received an email from YouTube talking about black voices. But see, I don't have the right type of black voice when it comes to YouTube because I was rejected because of the way I think. I was rejected because of the way I think, because I'm not embracing this whole demonic stuff that they're pushing onto us. So I was rejected. And when you go look it up, the whole thing is that you have to live a different lifestyle other than a Christian in order for them to want to elevate your black voice. It's crazy. Hey, if you're on Facebook, can you do me a favor? Hit that, type this in right there, what you see right there, ! And notify, right? You see that? Explanation point notify. For those of you that did not get a notification, you can do this and check it and make sure you can check your notification, make sure that it's turned on. And if you do not get a notification and you want to get notifications on Facebook, hit that. And also please share it on Facebook. So type that in, explanation point notify, and also hit the share button on Facebook. If you're watching on Rumble, go ahead and hit the Rumble button, meaning hit the thumbs up for me, and hit the share button on Rumble as well. Please hit that, hit it. Same thing on YouTube. You're watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up and share the YouTube video. I would greatly appreciate it. So I hope y'all like it, right? Yeah, I hope y'all like it. I put the comments here and you can see which one gets the most activity, most, is really active here. I'm encouraging everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please, comment, because you leave comments, it really makes a difference, especially after the broadcast. After the broadcast, if you go in and say, Will, thank you for whatever, or Will, you can go and leave a comment and say, Will, I'm not going to thank you. I don't like you. You can even leave that. I truly believe in free speech. You can even say that. I'm not going to be mad at you. Some people don't like me, and it's understandable, right? Because I don't think the way you want me to think. I'm a free thinking black man, and that's a problem to a lot of you on the left. Okay, we are at that point. My producer's out right now, so she can't tell me for anyone who blessed me, who sent me any super chats, or I should have it, be able to look it up here, but I don't have it where I can see it here. But I want to thank everyone on Facebook and YouTube. Let's go ahead and come on over to my Rumble. For everyone that's on Facebook and YouTube, let's go ahead, flip it over. Let's go ahead and come to my Rumble channel here and join me on my Rumble right there. Rumble.com/Will Johnson/live. Or you can go to www.uaf.media, just like you see it there at the bottom. Okay, everybody, we're going to end it here and we're going to see you over on the other side. Okay? All right. We'll see you there. All right. Hold on 1 second.